If it is 8
Oh, I
o'clock,
don't know that.
please.
Yeah, time TV is time,
Guys,
radio
sorry,
is time.
sorry. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Sorry for a little bit of delay. We are live. Thank you, guys. Welcome to the Alliance for Change on the Move. Tonight programs we have in our studio, Mr. Kamraj Ramjatan, the leader of the Alliance for Change, Member of Parliament. Welcome. We have Professor Shamir, former Ambassador Kuwait. Welcome, Professor. And of course, the one and only our local representative, Region 6 Councillor, Mr. Derek Basdia. Welcome, Derek.
Thank you very much, MP.
Thank you, Vice Chair Ricky.
And
MP.
thank you very much, Ricky. And I'm glad to be back here in Berbice on the move, AFC on the move in Berbice. We got quite a lot of things to deal with. And so if we already cut into the program by 15 minutes because of technical problems, could you kindly let us get into the business of the program?
Yes, definitely. So tonight, I wanted to start with our local issues on the ground there in Region 6. And I know we're having a lot of issues there. And, into myself, I was sharing some of the roads that people are using the coconut shells and all these things, Derek. So I know that you were the man on the ground, and there was some issues with the road. There were some protests and so on in Albion area on this store shop thing for the Gaisuku. So you want to start to tell us exactly what's going on at a local level?
Yes. Good evening, everyone in the panel and all our listeners out there. I know we are on Facebook and in the diaspora and all over the world. I know thanks to technology. Viewers out there seeing that we are short in time, so I'm going to be very quick with the current events. This being said, and as our MP, Mr. Ricky Ramsud, has started it about the Coconut Shell Street. I posted it on Facebook, I posted it on social media, and the same Channel 8 carried a news article one evening about the Coconut Shell Street in Nick Settlement, where the neighborhood came out and showing what kind of street they have access in and out. People can't get in with their cars, leave out. They can't even walk in. People working at the banks, school children can't get in and out of that street. You got to dodge from holes and mud and terrible conditions. Terrible. And I want to thank Channel 8 to air that program and show the world what we are going through, right? We have so much of money, which my colleague's going to talk about more, and it's very bad, very bad. Let me just touch on one of the things. You were talking about the Gaisuku strike. At the RDC level, monthly statutory meeting, and I could quote from the minutes that I have, right? And what the RDC chairman, Mr. David Armogan, had replied. I am requesting every single week for the past 16 months, right, for a representative from Gaisuku to come to our monthly statutory meeting. And there's no show all the time. Every other department, from NARI to Rice Board and everybody are there. Private sector people, they are there in the meeting every month, but no show for Gaisuku. Well, you know why, right? Probably there's something to hide, right? And most definitely there's something to hide. That's why they're not coming, right? And I'm going to ask again. The regional chairman said he is doing it every month, a request to them, and they're not showing up. Never. The streets all over the place. I go from one end to the next. I go all the way in Edinburgh, Glasgow. The streets are terrible. Wherever we go, Mr. Ramjatan was in Berbice 2 consecutive weekends. Sewell, Anchorville, all the way Port Morant. Everywhere we go, Liverpool. Now when we go there, then the people, the residents are saying, that's when you guys come. That's when they are fixing the streets. That's where they are meeting our demands, right? The people had to come and protest also. They wanted to do the street halfway paved. And the people came out. And I also talked to them. I said, you got to pave the street all the way. You can't do half substandard work. All right.
Thank you.
I was all the way on Smokes Creek. The conditions are terrible. I know, yes, it's torrential rainfall, natural disaster with rain and things like that. But still, all this money giving out. Fix the streets. Fix our streets, our students, our NIS people, the Port Morant Dam back at the market going in there is in terrible condition, people. It's very bad. The NIS people have to wear the uniform. a certain uniform every single day for the week. School are in their comprehensive school. Children got to go in there. Teachers, the technical institute students, everybody's in that one street. If you see the potholes, very bad, very bad. I even refuse to drive my car. The Chesney housing scheme is in terrible condition. The only street in Chesney that is really paved real nice is where the PPP are keeping their meeting at one of the house, about 8th Street in there. To go into the areas is very bad. Back at Gaiwa, the bridge that they build there, the bridge approach is terrible. But that one street that the PPP use that house for the public meeting, right, is very much nice, really nice. Why they can't do all the other streets like that? You know, I don't want to take up much time. I'll be back on the program.
Thank you, Derek.
Right? Thank you very much.
Thank you for highlighting those issues there concerning the road. And I know that you're a counselor on the RDC. I'm happy that you brought on this here. Mr. Kamraj, I know that you had some recent visits there. And you have encountered a lot of issues also. The people are telling you some of these issues are. Can you say to our viewers, you know, what are some of these issues? And
yeah, well, Ricky, it is the cost of living. Everywhere I went, from Albion there, we had dropped in at Sewell to take a look at the roads, and we then went to Liverpool by Mr. McBean's residence and talked to some of the people there. And the big cry is cost of living. It has quadrupled from about 6 months ago. The prices as compared to now has gone right up, sky high. And there is a big demand for some governmental measures. So I indicated to them, especially, you know, Sewell and all the areas, that this government does not care. They fool people. And the cost of living, when I started asking them about certain prices for the goods that they produce, vegetables and so on, they say all of that also gone up. People are taking advantage of the situation. And, you know, I want Barbicians to know that these price rises were occurring since last year, but it was very slow. This year, January, we went to Parliament and we moved a motion to discuss what could be done in relation to the high cost of living. The Speaker indicated that the motion got some problems. Then we had to resubmit it in February. Then he approved it in April of this year. Then he withdrew it again, all at the behest of the PPP government. Jagdeo and the other senior ministers obviously indicating to the Speaker that it is not a motion that should be brought up now. Then it was approved again for debate on 21st of July, and then the Speaker changed his mind again. Could you imagine our Parliament not being granted the opportunity, Barbicians, and the PPP blocking a cost of living motion in our Parliament? The PPP got no shame anymore. And that's the government that you put there. They're shameless. And I am urging, you know, that you understand that where else could we go and carry this matter? The PPP feel that apparently we should go on the streets. They like when opposition parties will go on the streets. But let me tell you something. The sentiment I've gotten from Port Morant and Albion and Sewell and all of that is that like they will be ready now, not opposition forces, but they will be ready to go on the streets because of this cost of living. Some of them only eating 2 meals a day now. Some of them are so poor, they said that because of the children, they give the children the 2 and they will have to take 1. I could have never imagined that Guyana, you're going to have that kind of situation where the cost of living is and causing almost literally malnutrition at home. But it is happening right now in Guyana. And when we try as best as possible to get the Speaker of the House and the PPP to support a motion to deal with this issue, it is blocked. Now, when things like that are blocked, people are going to start taking other action. And I'm hoping that this PPP government will understand that we should not go there. In every other country, Barbicians, every other country in the CARICOM, Mia Motley's Barbados, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Grenada, Jamaica, all of their governments have supported the opposition because this thing it cuts across all the parties,
Absolutely.
government and the opposition, and they have started doing things, dropping what you call like the VAT,
Yes.
asking for price controls, doing a number of things like Mia Motley has done and the St. Vincent Prime Minister has done. But what we got here, these jagabats continue to allow the thing to be a laissez-faire, no intervention from the state. And that is why people in Berbice are punishing. I asked a couple of them to come on the television, especially the ladies. They don't want to come. You remember that? They don't want to come. They said, look, we feel that they're going to want to victimize us because they got their PPP people following me all over the place, asking what Ramjatan doing here and why y'all allowing him to use your bottom house. So we got to do something like guerrilla politics now. We can't let them know which bottom house we go in, which street we go in, and so on. This is the shameless way. And they drive fear into those people.
So
I hear one of the person's house, I ain't going to name him, he said that he got 2 bricks fall in his house that night time. Look at the nonsense that is happening in this country. And so we have to let people in Berbice know now that all these big promises, they said they're going to fix the sugar industry. The people said that our generation next, this 18-year-old no one cut cane. What we want is to get in training and skills for the oil and gas sector and other sectors. And we want pieces of land for livestock and for prawns inland, training into that kind of thing, the 4 Ps. They don't want to follow what we had left as a legacy. 1 set of oil money plus a plan for cultivation of other crops and diversification. No, they want them people to cut cane all the time. So I warned them and I indicated to them, this is what you're going to suffer from. You know, whilst other people dealing with middlemen, look after the contract, I going to look after the agreements and so on, and I going to look after government. You know, the Sugate scandal. And it's for that reason, I will come back to it, why all this hardships happening in the country, and they were now ordered and summoned by the American government because they're not governing properly. Something I am certain that Professor Shamir will want to get into.
Kamaraja, before you continue there, I will come back to that same overseas the U.S. summon meeting with the government of Guyana. But before you go off, before Professor come on, I want to ask you something. I know that when the AP and UFC were in government, you guys right-sized the sugar industry to ensure to make it profitable. But we have seen recently that we had a shortage of sugar. And we have seen that the production of the sugar is being cut every single crop. But yet we are seeing, but contrary to that, in the National Assembly, we put almost, how much billion now? We have probably about 13, 14 billion.
For this year.
For this year?
Into Gaisuko.
Into Gaisuko for the last 2 years. Sorry, the last 2 years.
Right. And we are getting a lot of lies in relation to sugar. The CEO came out and said there is no sugar shortage. Oh, no, we don't have a shortage of bulk sugar. We have a shortage of what? Some other sugar. All kinds of sugar is short. The estate people, they use bulk sugar in a sense. You go there, it is not a packet sugar. And they're saying they're not even getting that. The lies that are coming from the PPP government and the CEO, I now understand that they don't know what to do. Because when they're ready now to go to Blairmont with to ensure that grinding continues, there was a major strike because the people were denied some monies. I was up there a couple of weeks ago, as I wrote in the Village Voice. I did an interview for Village Voice. A whole set of people, because of what has happened at Rosal Estate, you got to be shifted now to Blairmont Estate. And Blairmont is a good productive estate. So the people now need, because it take 2 hours in the morning to go to Blairmont, to cross that bridge from where they live in and around New Amsterdam area, and then to go there, picking up all these workers and going there. They're entitled to what is called a travel allowance, but they call it parochially in that area, disturbance allowance. And it is quite a lot of people from that New Amsterdam area going back to Mara side. And for 2 hours in the morning, they got to wake up now earlier at 4 o'clock in the morning. The wife got to cook for them. And then when they come back afternoon time, the 2 more hours to travel back home, 4 hours. So they wanted what is called a disturbance allowance, because that is disturbing them from what they're supposed to be, it has been a kind of an interruption. So they got to be paid for it. Other people are being paid. But these people, and largely it's Afro-Guyanese, and I'm not being racial or anything here. Indeed, I got the names, 119 names or whatever. They sign on, they have been paid. Some $300,000, some $200,000, they have not been paid. And the GAU is not representing them. I don't know because of why this discrimination. 4 hours a day traveling to and from work, and you're not getting it traveling since January this year. The people, that is why they're not getting labor for sugar. And that is why sugar goes short in a country that it is not supposed to get short. And from a PPP government that promised them, we're going to look after back sugar for you. They're lying. They're pathological liars.
Absolutely, Mr. Karana. Thanks for that, because I think what I know during my time working at Gaisuku, we used to have a lot of incentives. And the incentives is the one that push a lot of production. We used to get overtime. In a month, we used to get like 14 days extra in a month of, what you call it? There was a word you used to call it.
Incentive payments and so on.
Right. When you grind and you make a production target, you're having like a 14 days pay extra.
Bonus.
A bonus. So, Professor, I don't want it to come out of the context of the cost of living. And I have seen what happened in Sri Lanka, and given your portfolio and your recent portfolio that you had with us and under the APNU AFC government as an international and of a person of that caliber, I've seen that in Sri Lanka, what really the cost of living have done to that country. We have seen it. We had a similar situation also in Suriname recently. I want your take in terms of what you think can happen to Guyana in a situation of this rising cost of living.
Thank you, Vice Chair Ricky. Greetings, namaste, assalamu alaikum to Barbicians, my brothers and sisters, and Guyanese globally. We are also celebrating today Islamic New Year and also Happy Emancipation Day. So our prayers and best wishes are given to all. It is not known widely that the Arabs also had Arabs selling Arabs for dirhams. So all our prayers and good wishes are with all those people, and thank them for their sacrifices so we can enjoy today. With all due respect, that question was asked to me by my global circle. Can Guyana become Sri Lanka? Sri Lanka had loans upon loans, projects upon projects, and no people to execute. The big one is the port. With all due respect, China is wash of money. They produce cheap items. One item can have 20 varieties, so you can pay whatever you want. And they build their economy, and they did that port. When you take a loan, interest starts to work and accumulate the day you sign. So if you have money, you earn 2%. When you borrow, you pay 5+. So Sri Lanka was in that heavy interest. The port took about 5, 6, 7 years to be ready. No income. So the repayments were due and the interest were due. Lessons for Guyana, with all due respect. So what happens? China has now taken the port over and they have a location. The Sri Lankan government, friends, families, and favorites. Does that ring a bell in Guyana, with all due respect? And the rest is there. India has been a good friend for years, but India and China is in the neighborhood, and they've supported as much as they can. They've given them line of credit, but they reached the end of the line. Now Sri Lanka had no choice. Even the Gulf countries have gone their limit. There comes a limit when even your friends have to say enough is enough, because of, if you help A with 10 and you help B with 1, it does not look good when you need their support at the UN for one vote. So you got to have balance. You got to have respect. And the Arabs, the GCC, is faced with that every day, including this morning. How to treat everybody equally so one don't compare with the others. As a result, Sri Lanka is where it is. The IMF is now going to have, which is known for their standard, tightening the belt. When in Lord's name I visited Sri Lanka, I have great friends. I do not know how much more belt can Sri Lanka tighten. It will be upheaval. And unless that happens, IMF says no loan will come. So it is like a disaster waiting. And I'm only praying, my salah is that China and India will find a way to help them. Gasoline is now coming in, pharmaceutical is now coming in, and some food, but they are suffering. And the massive airport, because of the COVID and everything else, are not coming. So the economy is heavy, heavy, heavy on tourism. The massive airport is a white elephant, also a China project. So Guyana has the similarities, with all due respect. The only plus is we have oil bonanza. But if we don't spend it wisely and we don't bite more than we can chew, it can happen. Our friend Ghana, they've canceled 4 projects. Our friend in Kenya have canceled projects. It is not wise, and we are going helter-skelter. All the media has reported we need to slow down. The World Bank and IMF have told they've told the government.
Thank you, Professor. That's a very important.
I have my circles. I've maintained my circles a long time, many years, and I keep in touch. My style is to maintain my relationship with respect and patience. And they tell me confidentially. And some of the things I'll tell you will be in confidence, and I'll tell you. What I can tell you, I'll say. What I can't, because my interest is for Guyana to succeed. Election is over. Whoever is in the government, hopefully they will listen and they can change. No one is a sum total of knowledge. We can all hopefully learn and improve. But yes, with all due respect, the oil revenue is, but we've heard about the Dutch course, so that can also evaporate. And if we say alternative agriculture, yes, but it's written by a businessman in the newspapers, and he's right. Agriculture take 10 years more. When you take these loans, interest accrue. You have to pay back. And if 10 years to get income, tell me what's going to happen. I'm going to talk later about the 2 billion MOU.
Right. Yes. Thanks, Professor. I want to come back to that 2 billion a bit later. But
Yes.
Thank you very much to bring it into perspective, so our viewers can compare what what is happening in Sri Lanka versus what can happen in Guyana, especially if you don't listen. And as you rightfully says, we have 2 warnings already from IMF and World Bank as to our situation, what we can end up to be, and we can end up to be like similar to those countries. Derek, I know that you. I wanted to talk specific. I don't want to come away from this cost of living because it's very important. It's a topical issue. It's one of the findings in the IRI report recently. The survey that was done that shows cost of living is a thing that affect. I think there was the highest percentage on the survey that they did. I don't want to come specific to sugar, Derek. Sugar. I know that guys who are selling sugar at $90 a pound. Can you say on the local market what's the pound of sugar be selling there? I wanted to
I
focus on
reckon.
it because it's a one item, so people can understand the rise in that product.
Yes, let's take for example. I was in a store and I said it on another TV program. You know, I witnessed an older gentleman went in a store and the cashier told him $340 a pound, and the poor man was saying, what? You know, because he probably accustomed to spending about $170 a pound to $200, and he was caught without the full amount of money. I helped out a little bit, not to mention on TV, but you know, and he got his sugar, and he turned back and he said, "This is what we contract on to. I will produce sugar here, and I got paid $340 a pound for sugar." You know, and you know, Ricky, it's all over. It's all over. In the Chinese stores, the same thing. Sometimes you go into the stores, they don't have sugar, or they tell you buy something else and then you can get sugar. You know, anywhere I go, I warn them. I said, don't do that. Don't do that to the customers. These are people who want it. They're the likeness of sugar. You know, not everybody uses sugar. You know, they got other supplement other than sugar too. But still, majority of people want our Guyana sugar. You know, like the CEO, like Mr. Kemaj was saying that they are stealing sugar. Well, he should be investigated because he's underrating the Minister of Security, Mr. Robinson Ben. If he knows something of sugar and he's saying it on national TV, his CEO says some things should be investigated. Okay, where is the sugar going? If you know stealing and you're saying that without alleging, you just say stealing, investigate him for that. You know, I got some other things I want to discuss about the sugar.
Derek, thanks very much for that, because what I'm trying to do here, I did a quick calculations, and it shows that the sugar increases by the time it left the factory. It increased to like about 370%. You understand? Over 300% increase in the price. I'm doing a check because I saw that in some of the stores in the US, the Guyana sugar is branded and on the shelf. And I wanted to compare those price and see exactly if it's more cheaper when the sugar is in US and can bring it back to Guyana and sell it cheaper than when it's selling locally here. Now, I'm giving this synopsis here to show exactly the problems in Guyana. There is no control of price. The only way they could have controlled prices is to do what we call the GMC. The Barnum used to have GMC at different strategic location. Cameron, you know this thing. You understand me?
Yeah. Sharing Institute.
Right.
Yes.
Co-op shops.
Right, and they had the co-op shops and they had the GMC. I know my father used to work at GMC, and he used to get the oil and the sugar and the flour and so on. And it used to be at and whenever a shop man selling those items, there's people who will go undercover and check to see the price you're selling for a pound of flour or a pound of sugar or a pint of oil. And if you sell it beyond the price that is recommended by the government, they take your license away. But
yeah, well, look, Ricky, we have to be cautious about price controls to a certain extent. But we got to do like what Mia Motley has been doing. She has been pleading with the supermarket owners, and she has been pleading with a number of the shops and so on. And also, well, you should really don't have an opposition there, but because she won all the seats. So she's in a better position to talk to them and so on. And so, but what we have is that governments like in Guyana here, they can also reduce the VAT. You remember?
Yeah.
When we did not have the oil monies, we managed to reduce VAT by 2%.
Correct.
From 16 to 14%. Now we sign on an agreement that has given this government this year's budget $607 million US from the oil monies. They cost the deal. They cost we down bad. But the oil monies come in $607 million US. That is more than sugar, rice, gold, and bauxite put together. Next year, that is this year set of oil monies coming in, will be about $1.2 billion now that the oil price gone to 90 to 100 US dollars a barrel. That is what we're going to get. And we are getting about 200 and something, about 100,000 barrels per day. That was what the legacy the coalition government left for these jagabats. You understand me? When we went into government, we had nothing, literally nothing. Sugar was just eating up the taxpayers' money, which was the main revenue stream we had. But we have left them in that very nice position. And to date, they cannot ensure that they make the cost of living a little, better and improved for even their supporters. And so it is a shame. The points I'm saying is that, and they profess to be great economists. Jack Day was saying that inside of that party, they literally worship that this man's economic skills is almost encyclopedic. That is what they do that. As I tell the Barbicians, the surha the man. Yes, and look what is happening to you Barbicians. You can't get nothing. Although we made sure that from 2020, you're going to get about $1 billion every year. And from next year, too, you're going to get about $2 billion. These fellas can't run nothing, but it'll play on your mind. And they will play on a whole set of propaganda, promote all kinds of lies, and then they get the government. They say they're going to look after sugar. They can't look after sugar. The decisions we made on sugar are the correct decisions. And so right now, with this kind of cost of living, they can't come up with any plan. They're going to try to avoid coming up with any plan. All you got to do is to go in the Caribbean countries and see what the other prime ministers and so on, without oil, are doing to help their people. And we got so much oil now. What Jack Day will tell you. Jack Day want to talk to you. Jack Day want to talk to Sue. Sue. That is the nastiness about it all. And talk to him inside of his house. He want to go talk to the man inside the office of the president. Susu will speak to him in his house. So we got a leadership there that is shameless. And they're saying that what was the other lie they talk? Oh, Ramjatan was educated by them. Barbicians, Ramjatan was never educated by the PPP. It is my mom and dad, a headmaster and a lady at the time I was going to law school, doing 20 banks of shallot those days, 1980s. And they made me a lawyer. And for CEO Say Singh to go on the tape and say to two sugar workers who was challenging him, he said, you've got to be grateful. Look how the PPP educate Ramjatan. As I have said before, Ramjatan was educated from Quarantine High School right up to University of London. The University of London was helped by the British Council scholarship I won. Everything else was my parents. And for them to go and propagandize, that is how they lie at the bottom house. They talk all kinds of lies. Ramjatan was educated this. They're going to talk about Ricky. They're going to talk about Basdale. And they lie to their people. And their people, because they're not getting the other side of the information, they fall for it. They fall for it.
No, thank you.
What happens? So I want Barbicians to understand that too. More lies will come from them, but they're not going to help you.
No, thank you for highlighting that, Kemraj, because I know when he was cornered, when the CEO was cornered, and that's what happened to them. Whenever, I don't know if you recall when the vice president went to visit Barbies. I can't remember which one of the visit, what the area where did he went. The guy was asking him about the oil contract and asking the big old guy, fella, you read anything in the contract, you know what's happening? So when they're cornered, they want to test the people intellectuals.
Yes.
You understand? And run away from the issue that the people are questioning. Similarly, when Says was questioning about the guy Suku, rather than talk about the issue, he got a camera drum the time. You understand me? And this is kind of people that we have. Professor, I've seen, and Cameron spoke about what Miyamoto did in Barbados, but also in the US, Joe Biden have asked the gas station, and this is where we have to be careful, attention here, to drop the fuel prices. You understand me? And they had to, and some of them obliged and comply, and the fuel prices drop. I can't remember the percentage exactly.
But they also give us $600 thing to every person, Doc, Professor?
Yes, 600 and 1400. There were three subsidies, allowances to every American. And they're
Imagine.
right now talking about reducing the taxes further from various states and cities. So there are more reliefs are coming.
And that is important, Doc, because Professor, because like in Guyana here, when they do the cash relief or whatever relief they call it, they discriminate. Whereas you guys, I understand, it is from the records
Yes.
of the tax department or the
Tax
state
record and the social security records
Right, and
automatically
it's
transferred into your bank account.
straight into your bank account.
Yes.
What they're doing here is bare corruption, Professor.
Yes.
They get some PPP activists going around collecting the cash in one big box. And they must say, you take the 250,000, you take 250,000. Some of them with the checks and so on, $25,000. And some who are PPP homes that got 5 PPP, they give 5 of them the set of money.
There's a company in Florida can arrange that system within 3 weeks.
Exactly. And I have been
And
begging.
he made that proposal before to Guyana, and he might be listening or getting the tape. These services are available, but you're going to have the will want to do it. To
Exactly.
be equality. But hopefully, Department of State, what I know, is looking. They're looking.
Oh, they're looking. They're
They're
looking.
They're looking.
They're
Yeah.
looking. And you know, when we ask them, this just another point I wish to make, and I made this in Parliament. Please, Mr. Mustafa, please, Mr. Ashni Singh, put on your website everybody that collect the $25,000 COVID grant, everybody that collect the $250 or whatever is the grant. that
Reasonable
they had
request and transparency.
That
Reasonable.
is it. Not a single word you hear from them because they know it is bare corruption. And what they're doing here, Barbicians, they're buying the votes. Their own supporters are cussing them so much. So what they try to do is to give them the handouts as a buyout. You know, and that is totally corrupt. And that is one of the reasons that the American State Department summoned the president and Jagdeo and all of them over there. Because of democracy has 2 components to it. Free and fair elections and good governance. In Guyana, they see what is called an oligarchic, kleptomaniac set of people. They want for thief, and it's just a small clique at the top. And that is why they said, look, friends and family and favorites, y'all effing up this country. Please, we want to see you over there, talk to you. And they went and they tell them to go over there. They also see that the resentment inside the Guyana could cause a national security problem for the Americans.
Yep.
And that security problem, if Guyana becomes a violent state with civil strife, you know, because of people in oil countries, it is far more vulnerable. And Guyana now is an oil country. People start getting weapons. Even without the oil, we used to bring in weapons from Brazil. As a public security minister, I know of it all over the place. And when people start using this against, let's say, and we had information, rich people, kidnappings are going to happen. People are going to go and ask for ransom and all kind of thing. The Americans got all of that at the State Department, and they're concerned about Guyana. And what creates that insecurity? It's bad governance. When some people see that others get in and they can't get, and they are entitled. That is one of the reasons too. And the other 2 is that when you can get a vice president dealing inside of his house with Chinese middlemen, they couldn't take that. And that also is going to ensure that people from America can't invest in Guyana because there seems to be a privileged status for Chinese businessmen, you know, because of the contacts of the vice president. All of this. And please, we want to see you in the State Department. Come there. And then they probably read the Riot Act because America controls the American geopolitics. No matter what we said, they are big and powerful and mighty. And the Biden administration wants good governance. They are not seeing it from this government. We too are not seeing it in the opposition. Look, I want to bring another point to Barbicians. There was misbehavior as determined now by the Privileges Committee. Parliamentarians were suspended. When Bishop Edgehill behaved so bad in Parliament, he was suspended in the identical terms, but only his salary for the days that we had Parliament was taken away. The days that we had Parliament. So if for the month, only 4 days we had Parliament, 4 days salary was taken away. That was also the precedent set for a very long time. And it is in Erskine May. You know, they gone and they suspend the parliamentarians that were fighting that the Natural Resource Act must not be changed. And that we must get at least it being sent to a select committee to hear more voices about it. And the people did behaved as they were found. But you know what the penalty now is? That for the 4 sittings or the 6 sittings that they have been penalized for, all that period of time. So if you have six sittings, 1 whole year, salary could be taken away from them. Never in the history of this country that has happened. And you know who did that? Gail Teixeira. That Gail that I had so much respect for, that she's going to stick by precedents. They didn't even want to stick to the precedent of giving these 8 people a right to counsel, to bring their lawyers there, or particulars of the offense. All of these things are going to make this country explode one of these days. And that's what the Americans are vexed about. When Bishop Edgehill misbehaved in Parliament and was so found, penalty 4 days or whatever it is. When it was, I think, Sherrod Duncan the last time, Sherrod, 4 days pay was taken away from the 4 sittings that he missed. Now they're saying from the 1 sitting to the next sitting to the 3rd sitting to the 4th sitting, if we now have Parliament for, like, the recess is coming on, it's 2 months, all the salary for the recess and so on now will be deducted from their salaries. Now these are people that sometimes depend on that salary for their livelihoods, as a livelihood. What are you going to do that for? What is the PPP provoking people to do? And this madness got to stop. I don't understand the PPP cherry jag and all of them tumble books and all kind of thing. They did not have suspensions that would have gone on and then they deduct the salaries of these people. It's a shame what the PPP is doing. And for a just cause, although I didn't support it, and you would have noticed that I set my seat, I was the only parliamentarian there. The trouble is that it was a good cause that these people were fighting for. The good cause was that Natural Resource Fund Act.
Yes.
Must not be repealed and altered to the extent that the PPP now control the monies. We wanted 22 civil people to be there in the Transparency and Oversight Committee. They cut it down to 7 or 9. They ain't got no shame. They want their control freaks. And all of that now, a lot of people don't know how they're trying to deduct the salaries, so much salaries from these 8 parliamentarians. But we got to take this now to the Americans and so on to let them understand. And do you know that the advisor to the speaker is the clerk? And the clerk was saying, you can't do this. And the clerk sent out letters to these 8 parliamentarians that we will only deduct the 4 and the 6 days sitting. You know, they make the clerk change the letter.
Change it back. Yes.
Yes, the clerk. No, they're interfering with the clerk's work. The clerk is second in charge of Parliament after the speaker. And the speaker inside of that committee had indicated, but you know, Gail Teixeira, this thing has never been done. Why are you doing it? And he was pressured too. So Gail and them, they're turning totalitarian. It's probably the communism inside of them. And up to now, the party constitution got communism inside. Marxism, Leninism, all kind of thing that I tried to change in 2004 and immediately after that got expelled. You remember the Port Morant Congress? A lot of people remember it. But this is what they are. They're control freaks. And, you know, these presidents, when we argue the case, I tell Anil Nandalal, Anil, we set these precedents. What are y'all changing it for? He said, that was then. We are in charge now. Could you believe that? The right to counsel, the right to know the charges against, the right to a penalty that was there as a precedent. These people don't know what they're playing with.
Kermit, absolutely. I want to bring another point out for our viewers to take into consideration. The speaker ruled on two matters prior to this. One was on flaring, and one was on the Henry Boys, I think.
Yeah.
And the matters he said was sub judice.
Sub judice, yeah.
Right, sub judice. So we took this matter was took to court, and he tried to defend that ruling, and despite it was in court, he did not rule in favor. Said it's a sub judice. Can you highlight or say exactly on that ruling?
No, well, the speaker was very inconsistent in his application of the sub judice rule. When we brought the motion for Parliament to debate the killing of the two boys, because some people were charged, he said that matter is sub judice. Right? Because the boys have been charged. The case isn't fixed for no hearing or anything, but the boys was just charged. In the flaring matter, I think that the matter was taken.
Yeah, some lawyers took it to court, international court. Yeah.
Somebody had carried I think the Article 13 or some set of people, the environmental lobby, carried the matter about flaring in court. So when we now come to determine the motion and to debate the motion, somebody, I think Anil or someone of them, get up and say, this matter is before the court and it can't be heard because the sub judice rule says that once a matter is in court, it should not be discussed inside of the parliament, right? That is a general principle. When now this suspension of the parliamentarians coming up for debate, because at the Privileges Committee, you got to carry back the matter to the larger parliament. By that time, Roysdale Ford, Senior Counsel, had carried the matter to court, that they did not apply rules of law and natural justice and all of that.
Right.
So we thought that the Speaker was now going to apply the sub judice rule and do not debate the matter inside of the parliament so that they could now suspend the people. He said no, that what has happened is that the matter was just filed in the court. It has not been heard yet. Well, the matter don't have to be heard. That is why I told him it is like a distinction without a difference. How could you, in one of the previous matters, the matter was not heard by anybody, and you rule it to sub judice?
Yeah.
A matter was, the Henry Boys accused or charged. No hearing has been fixed, nothing. It is only a PI to begin with. You know, and these are the things of bad governance, and especially in our highest forum, Parliament, that are going to make this country explode one of these days. And by the way, that is why all of them, they're running all over with outreaches at Melanie Damishana, Linden, this, that, whatever. They're now getting it from their intelligence units in the police force that these people are going to do. People are not liking it. But when they're going to Melanie and when they're going to Linden, that is not the problem for them. It's Albion and Port Morant and Skeldon, people getting mad with them. And where they least expect the Sri Lankan kind of movement, where they least expect it is where it's going to come from.
Exactly. Professor, Derek, I want to stick a point. I'll come into governance and you in a few moments, Derek. Professor, you want to contribute towards this the issue on the governance in
Yes.
our country?
Yes. Well, thank you for telling me. And you have to do show and tell so people can understand. I do have a website which shows since March 1994, President George Bush 41 gave Dr. Shamir Ali the Medal of Freedom for distinguished services to America for the balance of my life. And I also have lapel pins, red when it's Republican, blue when it's Democrat, the presidential in the middle, and cufflinks with the Senate. Just like when a doctor visits a doctor, you get professional courtesy, lower fees. When the Democrats have that same Medal of Freedom Award, they show the respect for the recipients to the balance of their life. That has given me access to the White House and the State Department for many years. For the AFC, as the
That's
Public
right.
Relations Committee Chairman, I led 33 meetings to Washington.
That's correct.
9
That
to
is
the
true.
Department of State, World Bank, IMF, senators. So relationships have been developed and I maintain them, including the US Department of State. We've met 9 desk officers. One, the desk officer we met is now serving in Guyana as the political affairs officer. So we have relationship and I have been there and I know Press and Ease and Sabar. As of this, I'm in touch daily. I repeat, when no, God, Bhagwan, Allah, Jah is over me. I will not lie. As of this morning, I'm in touch with the US because all my friends who are close to me want to know about Guyana. They trust my judgment. I have their respect. I earned it and I deliver. This today, the shocking news was the Stabrook News editorial on the cost of docility. The first person who received it was the Department of State contract. The next was Kuwait, then Qatar, then the Islamic Bank, then the Saudi Arabia. I cannot lie. This is Islamic holy year. So because when people trust you, you have to maintain it. You don't lose trust from people. You better die. So I cannot. So they are fully aware. Because of my contact, I know that Guyana was to be spoken to at the Summit of the Americas. Not here, at the Summit of the Americas, but something didn't click. Something didn't match, and somebody, whatever, it didn't happen. So the decision was made to invite them to Washington. Everyone, the president is very active with the social media and video. Look at his meetings. Look at his body language. Look at his facial expression. Look at his style. Look at his eyes. You know, your eyes tell you when you're fearful. Public speakers know that. If you can look at their eyes, your body language tells you, yes, they were told in no uncertain manner that things are not, the Jewish word, kosher in Guyana. And they have to regularize things. This was said to them with all in confidence. I wouldn't use the exact word. I'd have the exact words, but I have to be respectful because they will see this tape. Because in diplomacy, you have to have respect and you have to have trust, back channels, and your word is your bond. You walk with your feet and not your mouth. Also, what is coincidentally and might have missed a lot of people, FBI, 3 persons, not 1, not 2, 3 at the same time. Well, I used to be an IRS agent in New York. When I asked a taxpayer question, I already have all the answers. I'm waiting for he or she to lie, then I dump Cowie and I give him 3 chances. FBI is doing the same thing. They already have all the answers. FBI, when they come, they give a country and a project a name, operation. I happen to know the 2 other words, what the operation is. All the bad persons and the name they're working, hub and spoke. Repeat, hub and spoke. Focus, with all due respect, you know, I cannot lie. Attorney General is aware, and those who need to know and gain aware. So I'm not setting you, and their other decision makers are aware. And the focus is Guyana. Miami.
You know, Prof, it's a long time I didn't hear that word Damkawi.
Yeah. Well, I've been around. So those are the factors. The U.S. ambassador has tried, but she has reached the end of her tenure, and she will be promoted. The announcement will be made in due course. She did a gallant, but in her quiet moments, and certainly she has some regrets.
She has some regrets. Thank you, Professor. Thank you. That is
with all due respect, truth will set us free. We
absolutely.
cannot lie. Even
But
liars
she
know
has-
when they're lying.
Yeah, but she has seen how they are governing now.
Yes.
And I think she's been communicating the bad governance of the PPP administration to the State Department too.
Right.
And that she was let down by how they are operating.
Right.
Absolutely. You see, the American foreign policy, Professor, is American foreign policy. And this and it depends on what has been fed to these ambassadors. Sometimes they make policy and decisions based on it. But when the actual reality kick in, and then I think she realized that, you know what, this is not what was told to her. You understand me?
Yeah.
Anyway, guys,
the $2 billion loan.
right.
Oh yes, talk a little bit about that.
You can go draw that money tomorrow morning.
That's right. That is true.
No. Come on. Those are bankers' money. You have to project your plan. You have to do a feasibility study. You have to put your interest rate. You have to add your risk. You have to have your return on investment. And with all due respect, agriculture is 10 years plus payback. All money will have to subsidize that.
Yes.
Islamic Development Bank, through Senior Minister Jordan and me as the first alternate governor and first governor, we got 900 million US for 2018 to 2022. We were barely able to use 50 million because we couldn't produce the feasibility studies. I even tried to get OPEC to come along and do it with the Islamic Bank for free, but our term ended. So with all due respect, I wish them well. I do hope, but that money is not going to come that fast. It's a lot of checks and balance, and it's available for Guyana and CARICOM. And these unfold projects are not ringing a bell. They are aware. And MOU, did it occur to anybody, MOUs of that nature is signed by a minister of finance, not a minister of foreign affairs, with all due respect. Those, come on, I have to be honest. I cannot lie. The truth will set us free.
Thank you.
Agreements of that nature. The Secretary General had time to fly in of CARICOM in and out. Couldn't the Minister Ashley, with all the billions, fly in and out for that meeting? You see, there's holes now and again. That's a big hole in even the people who were there with the photograph.
Tell me something, Prof. I think your knowledge of this area will help the Barbicians too. The one of the governor of the Islamic Bank from Guyana is Bharat Jagdeo. And after that Sugate issue, what happened? Did they ask that he resign or something?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. Islamic Development Bank, the Saudis are they're aware of Sugate. A lot of people are aware of Sugate. Sugate right now is almost 1.9 million viewers.
Yeah.
Sugate. Viewers is 1,449,000. I have
yes, but let us hear what because when Islamic Bank came into
Yes. So on the Islamic Development Bank, each nation submits the governor. Guyana submitted Vice President Jagdeo as the governor and Ashni Singh as the minister in the office of the president. Islamic Development Bank have questioned me. How come you don't have a finance minister in charge of money like you had with Senior Minister Jordan? I told him, different folks, different stroke, new government. They said, why is the vice president? I say, I cannot lie, I will not lie. It's not vice president, it's the second vice president. The first vice president is the prime minister. So it's the second. They are very upset. And that's one of the reasons why the 120 million that was announced in March, and was announced in June, was announced in September, is not coming that easily. They're not too pleased. Islamic Development Bank is fully aware because they rely on Prof, they rely on Bas, they rely on their brother to keep them in the loop. And I cannot lose face, so I will not lie to them. And what I send them is available in the media. I'm not making up any story. I just add 2 or 3 words. So it's all available in. They cannot, as a rule, ask for a replacement, but they will do subtle things. Minister Jubair is on my iPhone. He is aware. Saudi is aware. Qatar is aware. Kuwait is aware. UAE is aware. They all are aware, but in the diplomatic world, they go sabr, patience, patience, and more patience. So
Professor,
it's very bad reputation.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that insight, guys. Our time is coming, but quickly before I go, I had Basil and hold on governance, and I want to talk about governance in the local area in Region 6 in terms of projects, road projects, and so on, in public infrastructure. I've seen that Jill have spoke about they are going to be considering giving small contractors train them to do contract bidding and so on. But in our government, APNU AFC, we have 35% of contract was as a policy was given to small contractors. Can you tell me now how much of these guys locally there, small contractors, are getting the benefit of contracts now?
Not many, and that could be showed on the tender board and things like that. And
Right.
here's say in the RDC boardroom and from PPP councillors too. But PPP councillors are getting canals to clean, Ricky. 15 canals, 20 canals to clean, and they're spraying the canals. This is gonna come up this Thursday coming up at the RDC boardroom meeting. And let them listen to me. Other things gonna come up too, with a PPP councillor coveting land government reserve on the 19 public road, although he got lots of acres of land to produce shrimp. Nothing wrong, right, with him, going into his own property and doing it. But he's stopping people who go catch curry. As old people say, you gotta catch curry. He's
Yes.
stopping people on the reserve, and that is bad. He puts signs on the reserve, you cannot fish there. And this is a guy who's bullying the people there. Allegedly, a lot of people come into the Albion police station and making complaints, and always come to my gate and also tell me about him. I brought it up. It's in the minutes. And talking about the minutes, I showed one of the guys who always agreed to disagree with me at the Portland market. He's a PPP fella, and I showed him the minutes 3 consecutive months, and he was astonished. He said, "This is all of you guys do presentation and clarifications in the RDC boardroom, and no newspaper producing it out there." I said, "Well, they are all brown-nosing themselves with the PPP." After the meeting finished at the RDC boardroom, someone take them into a room and doctor all the presentation.
That's
so nobody
right.
out there can actually, and it's terrible. People need to know what goes on there. They elected us to represent them in Region 6 and all the regions across Guyana, and they have to know that we are doing a fantastic job, right? Everybody could say that. Anybody attends the boardroom can know that. Even the PPP councillors know that Basil make great presentation and fights for the people. And it's a lot of substandard work. Ministers' sons are getting jobs and using the ministry equipment and ministry machines to accomplish them. I got it on tape, and they don't want to bring it up because they know I could produce the tape. I got a nice smartphone, and I get good tapes there. Big and bold ministry vehicle crowing off people private land. And still when they go there to the agriculture meeting, they ask for more favors. We cannot have that. I know we are pressed for time. There was an alleged.
Thank you, guys.
alleged
I already got a sign. I already got.
We will be cut off here, Basdio.
Yeah. Thank you very much,
But
guys.
just to say, please, Barbicians, so much wrong is being committed, but the PPP is going to hide it from you. They have always done that. We are going to bring it out, and in these programs, we are bringing it out. But we also want people out there who know of other wrongs to send in the messages to me. You know my telephone number, 624-7922. I talk to people all the time. 624-7922. You just call me, give me the little information, I will take it from there. And so whatever it is, if the EPA or the region or whatever, or the finance committee, some corruption going on there, Are they lying about certain things? Send the information to me. Send the information to Basdeo. Send the information to David Patterson or Cathy Hughes, any one of our leaders. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Derek. And good night. Good evening to all our viewers.
Happy Emancipation.
Good night.
Happy Emancipation to you.
Happy Emancipation Day. Happy Islamic New Year. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Salam.
Take care,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Thanks.